Bobby Schilling. Bobby, good morning to you.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me on this morning.
Glad to do it. How's everything going this morning?
Things are going great. Busy day. Of course, we got 14 days left to victory, and we're just pounding away, man.
Early voting is open, and I'm sure you recommend that your supporters specifically, but all voters in general, take advantage of voting no matter which way they do it. Early voting, absentee voting, vote by mail, vote on Election Day. However you want to do it, just do it.
You bet. This is an opportunity for us to really get our folks out there. I mean, you never know what can happen on Election Day, so if the opportunity is there, you can get over there and vote early. It'd be much appreciated.
Now, I know you were actually in Rockford not this past weekend, 2 weekends ago, going door-to-door with Congressman Randy Hultgren. We know both of you guys well. I love the idea of getting a little tap, tap, tap on the door, open it up, and there's Schilling and Hultgren. That's a crime-fighting force if I ever saw one.
Yeah, I tell you guys, and I actually did it this weekend also, and the thing that's interesting is that the response that we're getting from people in the community. I had one gal that said, wow, she goes, I cannot believe you are here. She goes, I have lived here for over 20 years, Mr. Schilling, and we have never had a candidate for Congress come into our neighborhood and ask for our vote. And she said, she looked me right in the eye and she says, I'm going to support you because you're willing to come out and reach out into our community.
It's funny in the world of high tech how, the personal touch can sometimes get that message across better than all kinds of other transmissions.
Exactly right, and the thing is that we know for sure is that Sherry Bustos will not go into the communities. She's nowhere to be found. She believes that she can just go in and make a bunch of false attacks and lies on TV, and the people she believes are going to believe what she's saying. And we've debunked every one of her false ads, which is great for us. But it's just on if we get that turnout is going to be the key to this entire election.
It's actually a good question. Bobby Schilling with us, 17th District Congressional candidate. You go knocking on doors, and I think Bruce Rauner and to a lesser or to a similar extent, Jim Oberweis is perhaps finding that out in Chicago. They've been actually going out and asking for people's support, asking for votes, and finding them, I think, in places. So you go in Rockford door to door and ask people for their support, and my guess is one of the first responses is, I saw that commercial on TV. You're a bad guy, and you supported tax breaks for moving jobs overseas, even though that doesn't exist. So what's your elevator pitch to those people who have seen those commercials, don't know you that well, and perhaps believe what's on TV?
I just explained to them that every 2 years, this is a typical liberal response to try to go up against any Republican. It's the old, kind of like what it says on the shampoo bottle, wash, rinse, repeat, wash, rinse, repeat. But by the sounds of what she puts out there is, you would think that in 2009 I woke up out of bed and I said to my wife Christy, hey honey, millionaires and billionaires don't have it quite good enough. We've got to help them, which is ridiculous. Another one is we've got too many jobs here in America. We've got to ship more out of here. That is totally ludicrous. But I think the people out there, the listening audiences out there, see that kind of stuff. She just put out a flyer saying that Bobby Schilling supports rape. I mean, come on, that is so. I've got 4 daughters, and that is so disturbing that any candidate, I don't care what office you're running for, would be willing to put something like that out. We've got a nice little tabloid that's coming out probably next week sometime, but it's going to debunk every single one of her lies. Look, this lady has run on nothing but lies and deceit. She has one issue that's important to her, and that's allowing for abortions up to the 9th month, and that's it. She doesn't stand for anything. She has no morals or values, and I think that the people understand that, let's talk about the black unemployment rates in our communities that she's doing nothing about. Let's talk about the middle class who are struggling with the rising prices, stagnant wages, things like that. She's doing nothing except for setting herself up to take over Dick Durbin's seat when he retires.
So, in essence, it's no problem for you then to be asked about some of these, and for lack of a better term, vicious attack ads that you're being hit with. This isn't something you're trying to avoid and hoping this isn't talked about. You're meeting this one head on.
Yeah, you have to, because when you got somebody out there is all they do is spew lies out. You've got to go in there and attack, because what happens, she's out spending us 25-1. She gets about 90% to 95% of her money from outside, from the special interests, the PACs, and the lobbyists. She cannot get the money from the district, which means she doesn't have the support. Our ground game is very superior. Of course, they're going to pay, people to come in from Chicago and otherwhere to try to work the district to get out early voting and things like that. But, ours is a true grassroots where, hers is all paid people coming from all over the state and even outside of the state of Illinois. And, our thing is that we're just hoping and praying that our people say, hey, you know what, Illinois is at the end of its rope, and it's time to get good people back in office. Let's get Bobby Schilling. Let's get Bruce Rauner. Let's get this state turned around, because if we don't, this death spiral that the liberal Democrats have got us in is not going to stop. It's only going to continue to get worse.
Bobby Schilling with us, the 17th District Congressional candidate. BobbySchilling.com is his website. Last week, I think it was last week, you were on the leading edge, one of the first that I saw come through and say, you know what? Ebola, there should be a travel ban in place. And since you did that, we've seen a whole lot more people come out and say that. We've even seen a lot of Democrats step forward and say that a travel ban is not a bad idea. Why is it necessary at this point?
This is huge. Now, and keep in mind, because the liberals will say, well, we don't have any direct flights. Well, we're not talking about direct flights because there are none. We're talking about indirect flights that allow people to fly to different countries and then take a direct flight into the United States of America. This is huge. Experts are now out saying that this is airborne and that we don't know what to do. Look at what President Obama did. He appointed a czar that has no medical experience. This guy is a guru for talking points and trying to calm the storm. This is the number one thing the government is to do for us is protect its citizens. And by banning the indirect flights to the United States of America would be called protecting the citizens. And if they don't do that, it's a dereliction of duty, and we have an obligation to make darn sure that our voices are heard. This is a very dangerous situation. We just last week had a young lady fly from Africa into the Quad City Airport, and she's in what they call a 21-day holding voluntarily, so she can go out if she wants, but it's voluntarily. But this is a deadly disease that kills the majority of the people that get it. So this is something that is very, very serious, and it's not something that we should allow for any politicians to play political games with.
And as you pointed out, the idea that, we're going to go headlong into this from a healthcare angle, or we're going to go all politics, was answered pretty easily when the new Ebola czar is a sharp-elbowed political operative with no experience in healthcare whatsoever.
Yeah, it's very discouraging, because I think the president had a golden opportunity to go in and pick somebody that's really qualified to do this, but instead he picked somebody that was going to be more of a spokesman to try to push this thing back to get his ratings up. Our country's in a lot of trouble right now, and, as an American citizen, anyone out there that's not a Democrat or a Republican issue, it's an issue that can kill a lot of Americans, and if we don't have good people stepping up and putting pressure on these folks to put qualified people into these positions, it's going to get out of hand, and they don't want it out of hand, but they're going to try to do it through media and tell everybody okay. It's just when that problem starts to really hit here. I mean, think about sending our military over there to go fight Ebola. Now, how are our military men and women going to go fight Ebola in Africa? I mean, nobody can explain that one to me yet.
Bobby
really
Schilling.
Small bullets.
Yeah.
Bobby Schilling with us, 17th District Congressional candidate. It's Riley and Scott on WROK. Bobby, you picked up the endorsement from the Chicago Tribune in this race. One of the reasons they pointed out is your opponent has not taken a position, doesn't own a position on how to rescue Medicare and Social Security from insolvency. We see these reports, and it keeps creeping closer and closer to that date when they are technically insolvent. And they say you have taken the tough votes. You have the courage to tell people what it will take to get that under control. So it's a thorny issue, but let's talk about it. It's Medicare, Social Security. How do you rescue them? What kind of pathways, what kind of ideas do you support?
I think the key thing here is that the American people, they're tired of the politics when it comes to all of this, and they want to hear, even if it's a tough choice, they want to hear how do we fix it, not nibbling around the edges like Ms. Bustos does. She has no solutions to the problem. But what we have to do, the longer we wait, the more extreme the fixes are going to have to be. But what we have to do, I believe, is anybody 55 and older, it remains exactly the same as it is. There's no changes whatsoever. But for someone like myself or you guys that are under 54 or younger, what we need to do is we need to allow for it to change to where, for example, it's almost what they would call means tested. So if I'm one of the less fortunate throughout society, I'm going to get a little bit more help to make sure I don't have the out-of-pocket. But if I'm well off and I'm taken care of and I've got a lot of money, I'm going to get less help. But, I think the key is that, we all pay into this system, and it's only fair for future seniors to have something there for them long term. I've been paying in since I was 14 years old, and I think it's fair that I have something just like other folks that have been paying into the system. So we've got to fix it. We can do it to where it doesn't really affect anybody in a bad way that can't be taken care of. And then secondly, when it comes to Social Security, look, this is something that is a complete disaster. First off, we've got to keep the government's hands out of Social Security. Do not let them touch one penny of it. And then if we can fix the economy and turn this around, if you think about, for example, just the energy market here in the United States of America, we could become energy independent by 2017. We could become, think about this, we could become the Saudi Arabia of the world. We could pay off our national debt. We could put millions and millions of Americans to work. North Dakota, 0% unemployment rate. They have people starting at McDonald's at $15 per hour. This is all about the economy. The more people we've got paying into taxes, the longer our systems can thrive, especially when it comes to Social Security. But we've got people out there that don't understand how business works, and they don't really understand how the energy can affect our country in a positive way. And if they did, they would allow for us to drill on public land.
I would imagine, given all the talk around campaign time, all the different issues to be looked at, foreign policy entanglements, the Ebola thing and all that, I haven't been at your side as you've traversed the state, but I would imagine number one thing that you're hearing is, hey, how about a job?
Yep. Exactly right. She's come out and attacked one of the best jobs programs that is actually regulated by the federal government. It's called EB-5. We actually have some going on in Rockford. It's an awesome program. But just to put it into perspective, what happens is you have somebody that wants to come to the United States, or a kid that might already be here. They make some friends. They want to stay here after college. So what happens, mom and dad make an investment in. They have to create 10 full-time American jobs. Their project that they're investing in through some American companies, basically what happens is they've got to show that it's successful. And only then, after that, about 5 or 6 years, after they can prove both of those, then they can get what they call a permanent green card. We keep the tool and the talent here in the United States of America rather than sending them back to India or China or wherever they're from. Our company alone has helped create over 90,000 full-time American jobs. We've injected about $8 billion into the American economy. But it's things like that. We can put people to work only if the government gets out of our way and just really is willing to help our middle class and struggling families out there.
Bobby, what are you most excited about getting a chance to work on in Washington? What are you most looking forward to getting, putting pen to paper on come January?
The biggest thing is that I want to continue to get some of the things under control that are out in Washington, D.C. And what's nice about this go-around is, I haven't had any outside help whatsoever. And, maybe a little bit, but hardly anything to make a difference. But the key thing is I want to go out there and I want to say, let's take a look at this tax code. Let's make it to where it's favorable for American companies. Let's eliminate a bunch of these loopholes that are out there that allow companies like GE to make $4 billion and not pay one penny of taxes on it. Let's look at, instead of Democrat and Republican lines of BS, let's take a look at what is good for America, what's going to help put our families back to work. We've got way too many people in this district struggling. The current incumbent congresswoman is doing nothing to help that. She wants to build more prisons so we can put more people in jail. How about we take a look at how do we fix the problems here today to where we can keep people out of jail, keep them working, keep the family together, and allow for them to go buy a house, a car, and put their kids through college. She's unwilling to do that, and that's a sad situation for our country. So we're going to work hard on doing some good changes that are American changes that put people back to work and get people to where, we have some hope once again. People are really down in the dumps right now, and I don't blame them. But, our greatest days, I truly believe, are ahead of us as Americans. It's like Ronald Reagan always said, look at this is America. We brush the dust off, we get back up, and we get in there, and we kick butt, and we show the world who the leader is. And we've got to be leading, because otherwise, if we're not, this entire world goes down the tubes.
He's Bobby Schilling. Find out more, BobbySchilling.com. Bobby, thanks for your time this morning.
Guys, have a great one.